Borussia Dortmund have just crashed out of the Champions League and will now be playing in the Europa League. This was a turn of events none of us would have predicted, but then again, football can spring such surprises. One of the biggest fallouts of this is that we won't be seeing Erling Haaland in the Champions League this season. The young Norwegian is already out of action due to a hip injury, and now that his team is out of the competition, we will have to wait until next season to see the striker play in this competition. By then he might be playing in different colours. Liverpool are eager to bring in a new striker next summer, and it appears that the Reds have been sufficiently impressed by a Portuguese forward who has posted similar stats to that of Bruno Fernandes during his time at Sporting CP. The English Premier League, meanwhile, is set to make drastic changes to what clubs do with their transfer earnings. The news might come as something of a blow for teams that pay and receive over the odds in transfer fees. Manchester United are close to confirming Ralf Rangnick as their new interim manager, with the German tactician being handed a short-term deal at Old Trafford. Tons of stuff to cover today, everyone, so if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. It is clear that PSG do not want to let go of Mauricio Pochettino anytime soon. The Argentine tactician still has 2 years left on his contract at Parc des Princes, and United's initial approach to snap him up was met with a cold response from the Ligue 1 giants. But United can't take another gamble by placing Michael Carrick in charge for the remainder of the season, which is why they've been trying hard to bring in a more experienced interim manager. From being linked with Ernesto Valverde to looking at Luis Enrique, United have struck a deal with legendary German tactician Ralf Rangnick. Most of you might not know much about the former Stuttgart manager, but let's just quickly tell you that the Gegenpressing philosophy that is being used to its full extent these days by Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel and Julian Nagelsmann was actually pioneered by the veteran tactician, and the 3 men we just mentioned are his students. So United have reportedly decided to give Ralf Rangnick the interim role for the remainder of the season. Initially, the German was hesitant to take on such a role since he wanted something more permanent. It has now been revealed by The Athletic that the former RB Leipzig man will be given a consultancy role at the club once his contract expires, which means that he's going to be around for at least a couple of years in total. The move represents a drastic shift in policy for the Red Devils, who have largely been looking to patch up a wound with a band-aid since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Meanwhile, it's being reported that Zinedine Zidane isn't too keen on working at PSG because the Frenchman doesn't want to work at a club where he might not have the final say on player transfers. Sporting director Leonardo has more power than a manager at PSG, which means that if they really want to bring in Zizou, the Ligue 1 giants will have to make a few concessions. Premier League authorities are set to reinvent their structure in order to counter the delusions of football business. According to local media, the league is set to introduce new laws that will look into the management of club owners and controlling investors who wish to buy an English team. The goal is to prevent scenarios such as the recent takeover of Newcastle United by the Saudis. It's being said that the new rules will come into effect at the start of the 2023-24 season. One of the most important features of the law would be the establishment of a 10% solidarity tax on all Premier League transfers from abroad and from other high-level clubs. The objective is to redistribute the revenue to clubs in the lower echelons of the footballing pyramid. According to the report, if such a measure had been placed in recent years, the English FA would have at least €190 million to distribute to the lower leagues every year. Another measure is the revision of the system of parachute payments by the Premier League, which gives a huge advantage to teams relegated to the Championship. Each season, the Premier League pays part of its income to a number of clubs, including the relegated ones. The aim was to allow relegated teams compensation for the loss of income linked with their participation in the Premier League. The other salient feature of the new law will be the creation of a shadow board for the supporters in each club, with the idea of granting supporters a share in the club, thereby giving them the right of veto on several issues, such as participating in new competitions, relocating a stadium, or changing club colours or badges. According to several reports in English media, Liverpool are looking to make a move for Sporting Lisbon midfielder Pedro Gonçalves, who has been in fine form for the Portuguese giants this season. The young midfielder has had a great start to the current campaign and was very impressive in his team's Champions League win over Borussia Dortmund. The Portugal international mainly operates as a number 10, but can also play out wide. He scored 23 goals last season and helped his team to their first league title in 2 decades. This season, he's scored 11 goals and scored a brace against Dortmund as Sporting secured a place in the Champions League round of 16. According to rumours, the player has a £67 million release clause, which in the current market seems to be very reasonable for a player who still hasn't reached his peak. Ever since he burst onto the stage a few years ago, Erling Haaland has not looked back. He was only a teenager when he left Mulder for Salzburg in January 2019. During his time in Austria, the young striker scored 29 goals in 27 games. He would then make further history by scoring 10 goals in his first 7 games in the competition, helping Salzburg reach the last 16 during the 2019-20 campaign. Following such a stellar start to life outside Norway, Haaland made the move to Dortmund, even though several other clubs were eager to acquire his services. The move, though, made perfect sense. BVB have a track record of improving young players before selling them for a profit. Haaland's start in Germany was nothing short of spectacular. He made his debut in the 70th minute during a league game against Augsburg, at a time when his team was 3-1 down. Haaland scored a hat-trick in what turned out to be a 5-3 win. In his first calendar year at the club, Haaland had scored 35 goals in just 34 appearances in all comps. He even managed to beat the legendary Uwe Seeler's record by becoming the first player to score 25 goals in his first 25 appearances. In Europe, he was in fine form as well. He became the fastest ever player to score 15 and 20 goals in the Champions League, and it only took him 12 and 14 games respectively to reach both milestones. 2021, however, has proven to be something of a challenge, with the young striker facing a few setbacks, which are going to shape him as a better player in the future. First, it was Bayern Munich, who romped to yet another league title, and then Robert Lewandowski won the Torjägerkanone award, netting 41 goals compared to Haaland's 27. Norway missed out on the Euros. Despite all this, Haaland had already bagged 59 goals in 57 games for his club. Last week, it was confirmed that Haaland will not be featuring at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after Norway fell short in their bid to qualify for another major competition. Norway lost 2-0 to the Netherlands in a game that they had to win. Now, he'll be hoping that Norway feature at the 2024 European Championship. By then, he'll be 24 and will have more experience. Currently, the young striker is out of action and is dealing with the first lengthy injury spell of his career. The youngster's father, Alfie, confirmed that his son is unlikely to return before January next year, and Dortmund are also not going to rush their star player back. In his absence, Dortmund have struggled. They've crashed out of the Champions League and not doing that well in the Bundesliga, where they're badly missing his goals. Setbacks are part of the game, but these days they're coming at quite an alarming speed for Haaland. But then again, the striker will not be worried about it, because at the end of the day, whenever he comes back, he will once again be among the goals. What the player is going through right now is nothing but a momentary hiccup that will ultimately motivate him to be better than he ever has been. So don't worry too much about Haaland. We know he can score goals, and sooner or later he'll be winning trophies and collecting individual accolades. Who knows, he might even be able to guide Norway to a better future. Fingers crossed.